The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So, let's see here. Okay, welcome everyone and good morning from KYACC headquarters. My name is Stephanie KYACC. I am delighted to be with you today and now sort of try to help with any of the technology issues or any of the questions about anything. And I am delighted also that we have Dr. Kuleva and Dr. Ziada who are here with us this morning who will help lead us in our discussion. I am attempting to unmute. You can mute yourselves when you're not talking, but I'm going to try to set this now so that all participants can be unmuted at their discretion. And if you, for whatever reason, are not able to talk, you can certainly type in the chat box, and I can hopefully assist you with any technical issues that we might be having there. And so we will just wait for others to join. Right now it looks like we're up to about 11 total, counting myself, and we're excited that you're here. Liliana, can you still hear me and can you still speak? Oh, don't know. Liliana, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now,
okay.
I saw. Good morning. I saw that I was muted, so
that's okay.
I'll find a way to do it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Stephanie. So, should we start or should we wait?
If you'd like to, we could wait another minute or so. We have 9 attendees on the line now. Okay, Liliana, certainly in the interest of time and everyone's schedule, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, good morning, Liliana Kuvliev. I'm very happy that we have more participants than the last time. And we were thinking for a long time with Dr. Ziada and Stephanie how to present the overwhelming data that we have access to through the ACC Kentucky chapter. And I decided to walk you through very briefly the way that we get those reports. It's a very similar to the way that each of us that we're very familiar with the NCDR dashboard is so the same way it's working for our chapter access. So the first registry that I decided to look with you, since we have the biggest volume of participants from Kentucky, is KYACC registry. And I'm sorry that we don't have our reports ready for the version 5, but I'm pretty sure that many of you look their dashboard and the data there is up to date. The way that it works, we always choose which quarter we're looking. Of course, we want to have all the hospitals, and those are all the choices that we can select to look the data for. And those are like a census-based division of all United States. We are in East-South Central Division that includes Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Tennessee. And the way that we see the data presented, and we always look our state, and this is the 4 rolling quarters, like we always have our hospital reports done. So this is the 4 rolling quarters that they included in Q3, Q2, Q1, Q4 2017 all together. And we look always our state data and how in which where we fit in. This is the US data, 50th percentile results, 75 and 90th percentile. This is the 25 percentile and below. This is our census data, which is for the whole group that is in our census, and we can always compare our state with the census data as well. And you have here also the results for each state separately. We decide to look for the, do you have any questions for this? And we're gonna look very few metrics. I just wanted to let you know that they included, ACC included new metrics that we still don't have enough information for them. Those are all those metrics in the end of the report. And you know, when we have the data is a little bit overwhelming and not very clear, so my plan is to find the definitions and to have more clarity how we can look this data. We can see that we have a lot of green, which is excellent, but still we need to be clear what is all about. This is completely new part of the report, which I think it's connected with the version 5. So I will probably present the 2 metrics that we're looking for, KYACC-PCI, and Stephanie, after that we can probably unmute and see if anybody will have any questions in regard to those metrics. So the first metric that we look was the composite for medications, and it works exactly the same that the way that we used to work with the dashboard for our hospital data, and it drill down for each hospital. Each hospital has a blinded code that we don't know. The way that we know which hospital is ours is to look the numbers in denominator and numerator. Probably for this metric, and I know that many of you were confused, it's not the best way to look for our hospital data, because those are the eligible patients, and we know that some of the patients that they have contraindications for any of the medications in the composite metric will be not eligible. But let me see if I can pull the data for cardiac rehab and see if we can look at the data there. I think it's another down. Composite. I'm sorry, I lost let's see first the medications on discharge. Let's look at this data for medications for metric 38. That I send the data for you with the report. So as we can see, there is a lot of it's a quite powerful presentation of our results for each hospital, which we were thinking that we were discussing that probably medications on discharge is one of the metrics that we can easily improve. Obviously, many of the hospitals have still issues with this metric. And we can see that a particular hospital has consistent, if you look your data for each quarter, you can see how many patients were missing to meet the criteria to be in this metric. Let me see if I can find the Stephanie, can you unmute if somebody has any? I cannot find. Oh, here is the cardiac rehab. If somebody has any questions about the information that I presented.
Yes, I believe that it is set now so that folks can unmute themselves if they have a question. And I will go ahead and, let's see here. If anyone does have a question, you can either raise your hand or I'm going to unmute everyone just for a second here. And some people are self-muted, so, and that's fine too. So if you do have any questions, everyone at this point should be able to ask that. And if you have any challenges, please raise your hand or type into the chat box and I will do what I can to assist you.
So this is the data about the cardiac rehab referral data, which is quite new metric. We can see that the data is pulled after 2018 second quarter. And we can see that has an even bigger difference between the hospitals. We have a few hospitals that they have really a problem with this metric. And we can talk and ask how people look their data and if they have any ideas or any initiative that they started, so we can share our opinion, you know, after I finish, how we can improve this metric, which is quite important for KYACC. So those are the metrics that I wanted to present for you for KYACC. We're going to move very fast to ICD registry. This is the let me log in first. registry. We go the chapter dashboard. And it's exactly the same way. We're going to see here how many hospitals are participating. And we have a lot of that have a yellow. Let me see, this is first quarter now. Let's choose the quarter 4. This is the last completed quarter. And we're going to choose all the hospitals. And this is in our chapter, East South Central Division. So
Liliana, can you hold on for a second?
Yes, of course.
Before you go into ICD,
yes.
Just wanted to make a comment about the composite medication at discharge for the group. So just that everybody is familiar with the metric, and then the fact that we as a state are under 50%, under the 50th percentile. Sometimes it is misleading when you look and see that our compliance is 95, 96, 97%, but it's important also to look at the column right next to it, which is where do we fall in the national on the national scale, and it is under 50%. So that's important to know that we're not doing very well there. When you look at the drill downs that you did, Liana, the issue is in what is a very common problem in quality control, which is variance. So there is a lot of variance. Some hospitals are doing great. Some hospitals are not doing so well. One of the issues that we have been talking about is it possible that all the folks on this call are the ones who are doing well, and we're sort of talking among ourselves and all sort of not actually addressing the issue because we've already addressed this before. And so how do we get to the underperforming hospitals, and how do we try to relay this message, and how do we try to come up with improvement initiatives for people who actually need it, not necessarily for folks who have already been doing that. I don't know if anybody has comments or suggestions. Okay, you can go on to the next one.
Should they go and it's a lot of
to give people opportunities to make comments. Can you hear me, Liliana?
yes.
Yeah, okay, so you can go on to the next one, which I think
will go to this. So this is the ICD registry data that I sent in the report, and it's the same, the same way. Of course, ICD registry has less metrics, but still, like Dr. Ziada pointed out, most of the metrics are not very favorable area that we want to be. So this is below 50th percentile, and one metric that we're doing better. Between 50th and 75th percentile. The same decision was made to focus on medications of discharge, since this is very important and presumably fixed metric. So this is the drill down for the Quarter 4, 2014. 18 for ICD registry. And you can see that many of the hospitals that still submit data to for ICD registry has a not acceptable performance in this metric. I can, for the numbers that they're included in the submissions, I can probably assume that many of the hospitals still submit only patients that they're on Medicare, because you know, those hospitals probably have more than 3. But regardless of the fact, we expect this to be very close to 100% and 100% performance for our Kentucky hospitals. And the other metric that we usually look for ICD registry is the appropriateness, and I will open just the one that is combined for ICD and CRTD, because the other one is for the CRTD looks good. Obviously, we need to work on our appropriateness for ICD procedure. And again, this is the drill down by hospital. Some of the hospitals doing quite well in this metric, and some of the hospitals need to look their outliers and make a plan what needs to be done. So the appropriateness is it's close to 100. It cannot be always 100%, but at least close to 100%. Any questions about ICD metrics and hospital performance?
I'll just make the same comment, which is it's the variance that's the problem, and it seems to me, I haven't actually studied it, but just by looking at it, it seems to be that it is harder for smaller hospitals to create systems than it is for bigger hospitals. And maybe if you look at the bigger hospitals, you see that their performance is somewhat better. If you, and I say bigger by volume, basically. One of the things that we had talked about internally here is how do we get our bigger health systems to help their smaller affiliate hospitals. I think that's going to be a key issue here, because I don't know if the underperformers are aware of this data or are using this data. I suspect the overperformers or the hospitals that are doing well because they look at this and they work on it. And we need to help the others do the same thing.
Exactly. And the other thing that we always comment with Stephanie and Dr. Ziada is that we are not able to unblind the code, so we don't know who needs really help or advice or help with looking the data and using the data for improvement. So our idea was if all our big health system work together with the affiliates, we have few affiliates, let's say our plan is to, for UK health system, to work with all our affiliates and probably unblind our data and share our data in the group and see how we can help each other in the small group to look the data, use the data for improvements, and share our experience if we have any success with things that we're doing in our hospitals. So I think this will be one step. I know that many of the chapters, not many, but few of the chapters had like agreement between all participants to unblind the data. We can think about this, just everybody to know who, what the codes are for the hospital. So we know, for each of the code, we know which hospital we're looking. This is, I'm just throwing like suggestion, because, honestly, we can talk and we don't know who has issues and who is attending those calls and who needs us to work more like a one-on-one basis, so we can help them to improve. And I will I will show you the data for the chest pain, which is for me at least was quite I cannot get this. Quite disappointing, since many of you that participate on this call were involved with the accelerator program, and we had very good results actually. And now looking the data, it's questionable what we're doing, and if we are looking. No, southeastern, central east. If we're looking, so for now we have 13 hospitals that they still submit data to ACC. We know that many of the hospitals decide to participate in the American Heart Association coronary artery disease get with the guidelines. The metrics that we're gonna focus is the metric number 1. This is overall defect-free care. That many of you know that this will be included in it's endorsed from the National Quality Forum, and it's endorsed also to be publicly reported data. So all of you that consented with ACC to publicly report data on CardioSmart, this will be published at the end of the year. They will have this metric share on the CardioSmart website with all patients and their families. So the overall defect-free care actually represents the volume of patients or percentage of the patients that they had perfect care. So all the metrics that are included in the perfect care, STEMI care, those are 11 points, like aspirin on arrival, evaluation of LV systolic function, aspirin discharge, beta blocker discharge. So it means that it represents the percentage of patients that they have 100% of those metric everything it's included in their care. The important for this metric is to understand that even one point of this perfect care package, that 11 metrics, it's not checked for one patient. The patient is excluded from the from this metric. So that's why, for example, if we look and if you look at the performance in this metric, it's very kind of it's a lot big variety. I would probably for this one, and I think I sent in the email, for this one I will check if the data is accurate, because I cannot imagine that it's so low. Probably they need to look more in detail all the outliers and check the data. But in overall, we can see that still for many hospitals, it's a metric that needs special attention. This is a small volume, but still. And in overall, again, most of the metrics are in this yellow area, which is below the 15th percentile. And this is the metrics that we are not, with the new metrics, the same one that I show you for KYACC PCI, that we're going to need to do some more education to see how we're going to look. Even we have a lot of green areas, we need to know exactly how to look those metrics. The second metric that we look for the STEMI patients in the STEMI program is cardiac rehab. Which, in my opinion, should be 100% easy for especially for the STEMI patients. Let's see if it's going to open. If it doesn't open, I will open the one that I sent you. Drill down. Let's see if it's here. Registry. But it's a very few sites that this has to be 100%. There is no. I cannot.
So this again is another variation issue, right? So some hospitals are doing well, but others are lagging, and this is something that can be addressed without a lot of difficulty if you have a sort of an automated or a protocolized process. I think our bigger health systems do have that, and it's possible that the smaller health systems and the smaller group programs don't have a protocolized approach, but it's easy to implement. I think it's something that we, as bigger programs, can help our smaller affiliates maybe do things like that, protocolize or standardize order sets.
So this is the data that I have wanted to kind of overview with the team, and we can probably will appreciate any comments or any questions.
So it looks like the audience, there are several folks who are unmuted, and then there are some folks who are self-muted. So if you would like to ask a question and you're not sure you're being heard, it is possible that you're self-muted. But I think certainly, as Liliana mentioned, we would like some feedback from the group, sort of on your perceptions of the data, and if there are any challenges that you're facing at your institution too, specifically.
So I have a question, actually. I wanted to ask if this data is valuable for your teams, for your quality teams. Do you use it? Do you look this? Do you share it with your teams? Do you want more drill down data for any of the metrics for all the registries that we have access to currently.
Are you getting any messages, Stephanie? Because we can't hear.
No, I'm not getting any messages at this time. I'm going to send a note out to see if anyone is having trouble with the microphone. I do see some people who are unmuted, so that probably could speak. I can also ask the question to the group about whether the reports that they're getting are valuable.
And they can put their question if they don't want to talk. They can ask that question in the chat section.
Sure.
As well, they can type. Yeah.
Sure. I can make a reminder for that too.
And the other questions that I wanted to clarify with the group is because I know, I know a lot of analysts today. Is it better to do this quarterly meeting by people that they involve in each registry? Let's say we have a quarterly phone call for ICD registry, quarterly phone call for KYACC, quarterly phone call for MI, because many of you are involved in one area and probably might be more valuable or more effective to do those phone calls or follow-ups by groups. If any suggestion in this regard or ideas will be great if we have the opinion. So there's a question. No.
So I don't see any information at this point being typed in.
Okay.
Oh wait, I do have a question. I do have one question here. Hold on. It looks like the data is valuable for sure. I can only speak to KYACC. I do like receiving the reports. We do look at our data regularly, but it is nice to see comparisons.
Okay, perfect.
Let's see. I've got.
And can I ask the group also if anybody wants to comment on that about physician champions? Because I think this is important too. Do we generally have physician champions in every institution? Is that something that they find easy to interact with their physician leaders and have the reports discussed and analyzed to some extent, or have the issues that the reports raise brought up to the attention of their physician leaders? Is that something that is easy or difficult to do? I think that's important too.
Exactly.
It doesn't look like we have any feedback on that just yet.
And I think many people prefer, email. I receive a lot of emails after I send the reports last time. So, you know, they always can contact me and by email with any questions or phone call. I'm always available if I can help anybody to look their data and have their questions answered. I'm always available for the group. I just wanted to remind this to everybody.
Thank you, Liliana. And I think our goal from a KYACC standpoint is really to provide as much facilitation and support that we can to improve on the metrics that we all identify as the ones that need the most attention or that could have the most movement by working together. So certainly our hope is that that we would be able to identify those either here or maybe by email, as you suggested, Liliana.
Yes. Yeah, and I will always send those reports with some comments if you think they're helpful, and I will always will appreciate any additional requests for more data or for more metrics that you facilities looking and wants to improve further. I can send drill down reports for any of the metrics that they included in the registry. So keep this in mind and just ask me for particular data for any of the metric, and I can send you. And that will be the plan to continue to send quarterly reports with some with very brief overview and be open for comments and suggestions from the group.
I do have a question from Courtney Blankenship. She says, I do not have a working microphone. This is Courtney from St. Joseph Hospital.
Yes.
I'm anxiously waiting for KYACC PCI to release individual provider. Our docs look forward to these reports, and I have had nothing since Q2 2018. So do you know anything about that, Liliana?
Yeah, and I know when I talk with, we communicate with Courtney last week. I talked with ACC, and I asked them about the reports for version 5. Mm-hmm. Their clarification was that they expect the reports to be ready in October. They say that, you know, and of course, when they're ready, probably the physician dashboard will be active as well. The thing that they emphasize that we can still use the dashboard that is you know, for our hospital has access to the data, but I know that we are very restrictive, you know, we don't have the data by physician in those dashboards. So I will keep asking NCDR about this, and I will keep updating the group with any new updates. But that was the last time that I talked with ACC about the new version, the reports from the new version.
So the reason for that, Liana, and for Courtney too, is that when they implemented version 5, the risk adjustment model changed because there's so many new variables that get into the model now, or some at least. So when the model changes, you have to have sort of a base benchmark, which is going to be a couple of quarters or so. So that's why there is a delay. So every time there was a change in the version of the software, that required a delay a little bit to build up some data before they can start doing the comparisons. So this is sort of inevitable once you change the number of variables collected. Because if you don't, you have to use the variables that you're adding into the model. Otherwise, you know, what's the point of collecting them? So that's why this is happening. But it's temporary. It should be back shortly in a few months.
Exactly, and I think the other thing is that many of you know that we started Q1 2019 for chest pain. We started version 3. So I think ACC was waiting version 3 to start as well, because the goal for ACC is to unify all the registries and metrics and definitions. So the data has more it's more meaningful going through CAT PCI, chest pain, ICD, and so forth. So I think this is also one component that slowed down. But if you are familiar with the new version last year or the year before for ICD registry, we had to wait almost 1 year to have our reports back for the ICD version 2.2. So I think it's quite expected. The problem is that CAT PCI is the biggest registry, and people are really looking for for a long time their data, and they really need the data to show it to their physicians. The other thing is for the ICD registry, ACC is working on the dashboard, physician dashboard that is coming up as well. So we just have to wait. I guess we don't have a choice, but we're going to have the reports by the fall for version 5.
So Liliana, does it make sense at this point? Would we be looking for folks to either ask internally or think about opportunities, maybe if they're at one of the larger institutions or one of the smaller affiliates, to sort of think about ways that some of these quality improvements could be shared across institutions, at least within the same system, maybe before the next call, or maybe in an interim?
Yes, we can probably reach and talk with them and see what the ideas. We have some ideas here in University of Kentucky, so I'm very excited to share with any of the big hospitals and groups that they're interested to do the same quality work with their affiliates. I think it's worth it.
So this is the issue. Sorry to interrupt, Liliana. This is the issue that everybody needs to understand, is that we are blinded, so we don't know who is underperforming and who is needing to make some adjustments in their workflows and so forth. So this has to come from the group itself. One way to get around that is that our large health systems have affiliates, and maybe they can look into helping everybody can help the 2 or 3 hospitals that they work with regularly, something along those lines. Because I think that our larger systems, based on the numbers, seem to be doing better than the smaller systems or the smaller programs. It's easier to implement, protocols and things, and system-based practices in a larger system than it is in a small program, and that is not unexpected. But maybe we can benefit from our affiliation and benefit from having, programs that work with us regularly, that maybe we can then try to help with some of the knowledge that we have acquired over time regarding, these quality improvement initiatives. So that's something that maybe the others can, those of us who are on the call can maybe start looking into who they can work with in their smaller circle of connections with the smaller programs. That's one thing. The other thing is if small program representatives are on the call, they can reach out. And I think everybody is happy to try to help if there's an issue. Usually these things are just giving ideas of things we have tried and failed, or things that we have tried and worked. Just by exchanging ideas, that alone would improve the process in your place. I wanted to also bring up another point, which is we have an opportunity to invite other folks from other states who are doing similar dissemination of information and quality improvement initiatives using the statewide reports. We know that Virginia and Mississippi have similar initiatives. I'm happy to reach out to the governors of the chapters and to the data coordinators in these chapters and see if they can join us on a call. If folks think that this is an interesting idea or that we can learn from Virginia, I know has done some good work. We can maybe learn from them or see how they're doing things. Maybe they're doing things differently and maybe their approach works better. We can always share and learn from others. If anybody is, or if folks are interested in that idea, please let Stephanie know or let me know or Liliana know, and I can work on that for the next report, for the next call. I mean, we can start organizing or to have one of those folks from the Virginia chapter, for example, join us on the call and give us a little summary of how they do it.
Yeah, I think this is perfect idea because I know that they have a lot of work on chest pain MI, using the chest pain MI data for their, like a statewide STEMI care. So I think this will be excellent, Dr. Ziada. Do we have any questions, other questions, Stephanie?
I do not see any additional questions at this time.
Yeah.
Well, I would definitely like to thank everyone who was able to join us. And as we continue to make progress, we'll think of other ways too that we can disseminate information between these calls. And if there are agenda items that you'd like to include for the next one, please also let us know that. Also, I would like, before we go, just to remind everyone to mark their calendars and save the date for both the ACC or KYACC annual scientific meeting, which will be held on October 12th, but also the night before we are planning to have another quality forum dinner in conjunction with that meeting. So please do mark your calendars for that. Liliana, is there anything else that you have, or Khaled, anything else for you?
I think that's good. Thank you for bringing up the quality dinner. I think this is the opportunity that we meet in person and share some more information.
Exactly.
also have a nice meal together.
All right.
Yeah, I really appreciate everybody time with us this morning, and please call me, email me, reach me if you have any additional questions. I'm always available.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining us. I hope that you all enjoy your day, and with that, we will go ahead and sign off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Bye.